Welcome to Gear Taste Radio. We're offering an in-depth look into the usage and philosophy behind the equipment in our lives. I am joined with Robert Henderson.
Hello.
You're here.
For how?
And I'm Brian Black. Today we are going to talk about... Hit it.
Yeah, we're revisiting the 5-item 48-hour challenge that we did in January of last year. So it's been a little over a year since we did. It was like mostly a thought experiment because we never actually did it. But noon to noon for 48 hours, you go in, you get to wear clothes, and you get to take 5 things with you. That's it. And so we kind of went back and forth on what we would pick.
Yeah, and we still need to do that.
Yes.
And I like that we're revisiting it and we can schedule that because we already have some kind of camping trip going on that we're planning. So we are finally ready to do this, I think.
I'm psyched.
So, all right, let's hear what we picked last time because I literally
fun.
cannot,
you're going in blind.
Remember. You went back and looked, and I haven't looked yet.
So I'm going to do your 5, and then I'll do my 5.
Okay.
So your first one was a Morafire knife.
Okay.
Second one was a source bladder, and we debated on whether or not the pack that comes with the source bladder counts, but we let it slide. So it's like a source bladder with a pack attached.
Okay.
You took a full MRE, not stripped down or anything, just the full whole
Yikes.
honker.
Okay.
Sil nylon tarp.
Okay.
And this is my favorite. You took a snowsuit.
What?
Yeah, snowsuit. So, to be fair,
are you serious?
We did this in January where it was cold.
Okay.
Well, so your argument for it was a good one, was it can be used to block the wind, and it's kind of a pseudo sleeping bag because of the warmth that it provides.
Yeah.
So that with a tarp over you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this really does. This is very dependent on the time of the year.
Absolutely.
That we're doing this too. So I don't know.
It's kind of an evolving list.
Yeah.
So mine was a tarp, like a Walmart tarp, a 2.5-gallon jug of water, like the kind that you get that has the spout on it.
Okay.
An MRE, a hatchet, and a lighter.
This is before you started lightweight backpacking.
Yes, absolutely. Carrying a 2.5-gallon jug of water. I loved it.
What do you think about that list now?
I would change some things.
I think I would too.
Yeah.
It's tough to know really how we'd handle certain aspects of this, though, just considering that it is very indicative of the time of year.
Sure.
So I'm sure that I had a snowsuit. Did I really say snowsuit?
Yeah, snowsuit.
Oh, Jesus. I don't even know what that is.
I get it, like a puffy. Because you said originally,
like
I
level 7
I thought you were
PCU
talking about
kind of thing?
but I thought you were talking about like a pajama onesie, like. But honestly, like at the time in January where it gets down to like 40 degrees, that's perfect because you could crawl up inside of that as a sleeping bag.
Everyone out there is yelling at us. They're like, well, this is Texas.
Yeah.
Sorry, it doesn't
also,
really get that cold.
People in Canada, we get it. It gets cold. It's not our fault. So
sorry for partying.
Yeah.
All right. So if I was going to revisit this, I would try to drill this down a little bit more in depth.
Yeah.
As far as categories, since we've been working through that bug out bag,
right,
and revisiting those contents, which are 5 years in the making, it's forced me to kind of reevaluate things that are in that, but it's also forced me to look at those categories again as a whole.
Yeah.
Now, there's more than 5 categories in that. However, there are some main principal categories that can't be sacrificed.
Right.
Such as something like fire and light, shelter, food. Obviously, food and water would be kind of in the same category. And shelter to me really is clothing too. So, yes, it includes something to get under and out of the inclement weather, but it also includes clothing to give you shelter while you're walking. So I kind of lump that all in the same.
Yeah.
And then there's medical, there's comms. So there's really kind of these general broad categories that we have. But I think as a whole, if we're really talking about 48 hours, which is what we're talking about with this challenge, I think one of my primary things, in the back of my head, I'm thinking fire,
Okay.
Because you can do the most with fire. Not only is it a source of comfort and warmth, but it's also a source of cooking, and really it provides some shelter in itself. I wouldn't you could argue that both ways, that
Yeah.
fire isn't shelter. However, it's shelter from, I don't know.
Cold.
It's shelter from cold, but it's also shelter from like creatures coming up. Like,
Sure. It's a deterrent
it's
for
a
animals.
deterrent
Yes.
for animals sometimes, but that's not really the main reason for it, obviously. So, and then you're also talking summertime. So, do you really want to build a fire?
Right.
I don't know.
It very much is temperature dependent, because I remember when we were doing this, the mindset for me was that like I didn't want to let go of things that would keep me warm. And right now it's like 95 degrees outside. I don't care. And I mean, our nighttime temperatures are getting down to the lowest. It's like 70, 72. So, I mean, at that point, you're really
Soon
not.
it's going to be 80.
Right. And at that point, you're just not concerned with keeping warm at all. You're concerned with keeping cool. So
Right.
it's almost you would swap a blanket for a shade in those circumstances. So it definitely is. It's interesting that we're doing it at this time of year, because I think the items will differ only because it's like, I don't want that. It's going to be hot. I'm not putting a snowsuit on in the middle of June.
Well, and I think that'll also give us a way to kind of reevaluate this too, because of the temperature. And
Yep.
and I mean, that's how I say we do it
And
with
see
this
what's
too.
constant. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, honestly, if I had to take the most minimum amount of things with me, because that's the other thing. It's our original challenge idea was, what was it? Was it a survival thing? Like
It
you just
was.
had to exist
You had
for
to
48
be,
hours?
It was that you knew it was only 48 hours. So that's a huge factor, because if somebody said you need to take the things you're going to need to survive without a time period behind it, you're going to take things differently. Like you're not going to take a fixed water source. You'll take something where you can collect water or something like that. But we knew going into it that we'll have 48 hours.
I mean,
Yeah.
you could game it. You could say, I'm going to take a ground pad to sit on and a book to read. You know, it's like, I mean,
So
I don't know.
I
I'm
bet-
trying not to game it that way. But
I
at
made
the
a
same
big list of
time-
stuff, and one
but-
of the things I put on it was a book.
Yeah.
Because honestly, when it comes down to it, 48 hours, boredom. Like,
Yeah.
what are you going to do?
Well, that's what I kept coming back to with, building a fire and things like that. It'd give me something to do.
does.
I'd be working with my
Absolutely.
hands. However, if it's hot as shit outside, I'm not necessarily going to want to sit around and sweat my,
Something off.
I'm trying not to cuss on this
Right.
show, but it already happened,
Yeah,
so
so-
sweat my ass off. But anyway, I mean, I try to create things to make my mind busy or take my thoughts off
Yep.
sitting around getting bored, like you said. Because I think when we first talked about this challenge, it was like you go one way, I go the other.
Yep.
48 hours to come back, and we talk about pros, cons, and things like that.
Yep.
So we're both in a different environment. We're not around each other.
Right.
Which I still like the idea of that, and that's how I would do it
Sure.
with this too. So I think if I was gonna pick items, here's my thought. Here's what's going through my head right now. So I would want some kind of tarp still to get out of the sun.
Yep.
Necessarily, or I could always find the shade of a tree. However,
It's
it really
hard to beat being able to make your own shade.
yeah, and I would want to rig up a tarp shelter still, because even in the summer, you want a cross breeze. So
Yep.
I would set that up in a way that the breeze was blowing through, not
Yep.
against it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So you're parallel to the wind, not perpendicular to the wind, if I have that correct.
Yeah.
So then with a tarp shelter, you've also got ventilation underneath it too, because it's not staked all the way to the ground necessarily. You could
Sure.
rig up some guy lines and stuff too. So I think that in that, did I say tarp in the last one?
Yeah. Sil nylon tarp.
So I think I meant that tarp kit that I have that
Yep.
I actually pulled out of that bug out bag stuff when we were doing that, which that's where I keep it, because that's ready to go. So it's already got paracord line attached to it.
Yep.
It's already got actually it does not have stakes in it, because I always told myself I was just going to make those.
Yeah. Sticks.
Um,
Just get sticks.
Yeah, because you can really just make your own stakes, and it gives you something to whittle away the time doing, like, oh, I got to make some
Gives you a job.
stakes. Yeah.
I need stakes.
and that's an interesting perspective too, is because I think a lot of people don't think about that when they're out, or they're setting up camp or something like that. It's an idle hands kind of thing. Like
Yep.
you really want to stay busy, because the busier you stay, the less you're focused on the disaster or the scenario or whatever.
Even the impending boredom that
Yes.
comes from being in the woods for 48 hours by
Correct.
yourself.
Yeah. And there's only so many knots you can tie.
Yeah.
I thought about that I just take some rope and tie some knots.
There's like 6 minutes of enjoyment there. You're like, all right, well, we're done with that.
I do know a lot of knots.
Yeah.
There'll probably be more than 6 minutes. But, yeah, I could race myself with my eyes closed.
Yeah.
There's always that. Anyway, so I would probably still rely on the tarp, and I would take the kit that is already kind of pre-staged.
All right.
And then if I was going to think about that still and drill down a little bit, I do need a knife because if I'm going to make steaks,
Okay.
and not like cow steaks, beef steaks, but steaks to...
You never know.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So you're going to take that Mora knife?
Yeah, I mean, I still default to that knife all the time because it's such a good...
Well, it's a two-in-one.
It's a good all-around knife.
Yeah.
It's a bushcraft knife, really, is what it works out to.
Yep.
But it's got the utility of having the ferro rod built into the handle, so it can spark tinder if you need it to. So I really feel like I would still try to create a fire, just because it would give me something to do. I'd be collecting things for it, even though it's hot outside. I would still force myself to do something like that anyway.
Sure.
Maybe as the sun's going down or early in the morning, is when I could do it.
Yeah.
So, if we started out in the afternoon, spent the night and then spent the night again, I would probably I'd probably wake up early that morning and start gathering stuff.
Yep.
Like tinder and kindling and fuel and things like that. So it would be kind of my goal for the day would be to put together something like that. Plus, I kind of like the idea of not packing clothing,
Right.
and just kind of going with what we have on, and that way it's not so much of it's not really taking up space in our items we're selecting, but it's also more realistic in terms of what you'd be in.
Yep.
So therefore, I might make a fire break or a fire reflector to get the heat back on me because maybe I'm in shorts and
Right. I
might get cold at night. It depends.
Well, and it also stresses wearing clothing that's appropriate for your environment.
True.
In your daily life.
Yeah.
We talked about before, like, don't wear flip-flops.
I have stopped wearing flip-flops. It took me many years to stop wearing flip-flops, but I finally did. And I immediately dismissed it for a long time. People would say, whatever, bad for running, worse for fighting.
Yeah,
Comment
it's just you're never in a situation where you're like, man, I'm so glad I wore flip-flops.
That's true. Yeah. I'm
So.
so glad my feet are dirty. That's really what it came down to.
yeah.
Like, yes, there was the aspect of like I might have to run or get away and I'm in flip-flops, but I would always discount that. And I guess it was probably when, at the end of the day for a while, I'd look down and I'm like, man, my feet are dirty. And it's just interesting when I reflect on flip-flops now. I just don't. I use them to like go take the trash out or something. I don't wear them.
It's a quick shoe.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so back to the clothing aspect of it.
Just whatever you have
Whatever you have on. I mean, honestly, I'm in a button-up shirt today with, it's a linen shirt.
Really
I
good
would
for the
probably.
environment.
I'd probably go with it too. I mean, I'm in jeans and a linen shirt, so I don't know. Maybe I'd cut the legs off my jeans and try to make something out of it for a project.
Yeah, there you go.
Knows?
Give you something to do.
Yeah.
You're going to come out wearing Daisy Dukes.
Right.
2 days
okay,
later.
I cut them a little short, all right?
I went a little crazy.
All right, so I got knife. I've got tarp.
Yep.
Now, I would have food because I'm not going to try to gather food or something like that.
Sure.
So I would probably, I think that the reason that I said MRE last time is that I would break it down and eat it slowly.
That's what we talked about. It's like you could drink the
necessarily-
shake for breakfast. Also that it comes with utensils and a heater. So it's an all-in-one package for a meal.
The problem with what we're thinking about too is that you do have to carry all this stuff. Like it's not
Right.
so like the Mora knife has a nice little clip that I could clip onto my belt.
Yep.
I wear a belt every day, so that's kind of the thing that I don't really have to include because I do have a belt on all the time. But the tarp I would have to carry that somehow. You know, I'd have to carry an MRE somehow.
Right.
I don't necessarily think that I would default back to an MRE though.
Right.
But it is a one item thing.
It is.
Because I'm not going to take one dehydrated meal for 48 hours. You know
It's
what I
not
mean?
worth it.
So if it was a one time thing, you know, I don't know. Maybe a Lunchable. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I would take an MRE.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm going to stick with that too.
All right.
And I think that I would probably include a headlamp this time.
Wow. A headlamp. Well, so you're gaining hours
Yeah.
because if you don't have any source of light and you're not making a fire, when it gets dark, you're just done.
It's tough though. The headlamp might change.
All right, so maybe headlamp. We'll say.
Temporarily.
All right.
Yeah. But then I got to do water because, you know, what else?
Right.
Right?
It's
a
tough.
tough one.
It is very tough.
I'm trying to think of multi-purpose items.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of something that could do the food water element, and I'm really coming back to nothing.
It's tough.
Yeah. And I think I cheated last time with the whole like hydration pack thing.
Yeah. The pack with the bladder in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like how many attachments do you get before it's like...
I mean, that is tough.
It is.
I'd actually rather walk into the woods with things in my hand and have to accommodate that because I would probably take the stuff sack that the tarp is in and I would probably put it on my belt
Okay.
and let it
So like wing the...
let it
like
hang
girth
off my
hitch it
belt.
through or something.
Right.
Yeah.
It would get annoying after a while with it dangling from my belt, but
Right.
you know, it would be more hands free.
So this is interesting. We talked about this the last time is like 5 items is almost too many items to have to narrow down because once you get like knife and shelter, you're in your brain, you're like, all right, I'm set. And now you have to, this almost
You're
like
not,
luxury
though.
items.
Yeah,
but
you're
in your
not.
head, you're like, well, I could take water. What am I going to take for water? And then it kind of goes from there.
Mm-hmm. Man. So, I mean, I keep coming back to a hydration bladder because I can take, 100 ounces of
Right.
water or something like
It's
that.
the capacity, not necessarily the container.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's a little bit more malleable.
See, the thing about this is, too, it is the summer. So,
You're going to be drinking a lot of water.
and that's the problem is there going to be a water source? Because if there was a water source, this would change. So,
I think
It's
we have to
tough.
say yes because like,
you think
I mean,
so?
Well, to me, the way I started thinking about this is that I do want to be able to cover a little bit of movement because I would like to find a water source. I mean, summer, even 100 ounces may not cut it because that you're cooking through a lot, especially as the daytime temperatures get up
Yeah.
over 100. You're looking at consuming a ton of water.
That's true.
Having the ability to filter water, I think, is better. Also, if something were to happen to contaminate your only water supply, that could get pretty dangerous pretty quick. If the bladder gets a puncture or something in it, or like my 2.5 gallon water tube.
So the problem with that is then you've got a container without any way to treat water. You know what I mean?
I have the solution.
Oh, Lord. Don't tell me one of those stupid straws.
It is, no, Sawyer makes the squeeze, and it screws onto the top of the smart water bottles. So basically what you do is you have your dirty water bottle is your water bottle, and you drink out of the filter. So that's one of my items. Which is not a great solution because
just
it
like
doesn't
that.
protect you from like viruses and things like that. But push comes to shove, I think I would rather have that than trying to take only a set amount of water and then not have the ability to filter any additional.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
If there's a water source, and we know that for a fact,
Sure. Let's see. Yes.
I'm going to use that as something to do during the day.
Okay.
And I will take my gravity filter, that platypus
Perfect.
filter I have,
Awesome.
and I will take it without any water in it.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to drink some water before I
So
leave
it's not
the
as
car.
heavy. Yeah. You're
Right.
going to camel up.
Yeah.
Great.
So, and that's got a stuff sack. I would hang that from my belt.
You're like Batman.
I'm trying to be
I
because
love it.
I'm trying to be hands free. Like
Sure.
that's important too because if
Very
you're really
much.
walking
Yep.
out somewhere, and I'm not going to put a backpack on as one of my items.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what do I have so far?
You have a sill nylon tarp,
Mm-hmm.
more a fire knife, MRE, and a gravity filter.
And then I said maybe a
Maybe a headlamp.
headlamp, right?
Yep.
Okay. So I've got fire, water, food. Honestly, what's cool about an MRE bag too is that I could cut 2 slits in the back of the MRE bag and weave my belt through it.
Belt-mounted food. There you
Belt-mounted
go.
food. So now I've got a true Batman utility belt. I got my MRE hanging off my belt. I've got a platypus filter. I've got a Mortifier knife.
Oh my god, a belt-mounted MRE. I love it. That's great. And
shelter,
the bag is heavy duty.
Yeah,
you know?
my shelter hanging off there. All right, so got my cooking solution down. I got water down. Oh, man, I mean, technically this is not an emergency situation. This is a trial.
Sure.
So I don't have to necessarily worry about comms.
Right.
I would either sub a book or a headlamp.
Yeah,
That would be my last item.
I like it.
A book or a headlamp.
But you got to pick one. You got to pick one right now. We gotta.
Do you want to make this a 6-item challenge? No. What do you think of my idea?
I think book. I know it sounds crazy.
No, my idea for the 6-item challenge.
No more 6. No, you can't add an item. That disrupts the whole thing. Because then it's the 7.
All right, I'm going book.
All right,
I'm gonna go primitive and not have a light source.
I love it.
Yeah. All right.
So you only had 2 items different.
Okay, what did I change?
You swapped your source bladder for your gravity filter.
Okay.
And you swapped your snowsuit for a book. Which, I mean, that's a good trade in my mind.
Okay.
That's great.
All right.
I agree.
All right.
So I have my rainfly, and I have a specific rainfly for a hammock system. So it utilizes 2 points are trees and then 2 points are stakes.
You don't get to take a hammock too, though.
Why not? That's one of my items.
It's not all in one thing, though.
No. The hammock.
You're taking a hammock with a
Rainfly. That's 2 items.
rainfly. That's 2. You're going to count that for 2?
Yep.
All right.
I'm getting crazy
All right.
with it.
All right.
Hammock, rainfly.
Good.
Because it has been my experience in the trips that I've done, having the ability to use the hammock as a seat or a just place to sit.
Have you
or lay
camped
down.
in the summer with a hammock yet?
I have. It's gross.
Okay.
It's real sweaty. Now,
Not the laying on the ground under a
I
tarp.
can't take a bug net because it's not one of my 5, but I totally would take a bug net if I was given the option because it gets gross. They will bite you through the hammock material. Then I'm taking...
It gets gross with a bug net on because you can't get airflow into your hammock.
Oh, yeah, and it gets sweaty.
Yeah.
So you're kind of...
I've tried. Trust
damned
me.
if you do, damned if you don't.
In the summer.
Then I'm taking my smart water bottle with the filter. I'm going to consider that 1 unit.
Okay. All right. I'll give you
and it has
that.
the Sawyer filter. I'm going to take a Ziploc bag full of trail mix. Just like 5 cups of trail mix. Cashews, raisins, and dark chocolate.
For 48 hours?
Yep. I can just eat it. If I get hungry enough, I'll eat it. If I'm not hungry, I just won't eat it. But it enables me not to have to heat or cook any food. Because the last thing I'm taking is a small pack. Because my plan for boredom is I'm going to just keep moving. I tell myself...
that's an interesting idea.
I tell myself every time I go on these trips, I take a Kindle Paperwhite. And
now,
I tell myself...
do have a utility belt, so I could be mobile.
You could be mobile. But I tell myself every time I'm going to get there, I'm going to set my hammock up and I'm going to read. And it sounds amazing. And then I get out there, I'm like, I am so bored. I'm going to pack my stuff up and I'm going to go look at animals on the lake or look at flowers or just find different trails or whatever. And I found that passes more time for me. Plus, I'm hiking and walking and being active so that by the time I am ready to crash, by the time I get my hammock strung up, I'm knocked out. Because I've tried to go to bed after being bored all day and I can't sleep. Sometimes I don't even get to sleep till like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And then I just have a terrible experience. But
see, I like running in place. I'm just going to run in place all day.
well, so I thought about
Jumping jacks.
Everybody always talks about the big things they would take for survival is fire and a knife, which is true if you don't know how long you're going to be out there for. But if I know how long I'm going to be out there for and I can take a Ziploc bag full of 4,000 calories of trail mix, then I don't have to start a fire. I can just eat it. And yeah, it's not nice to eat the same stuff over and over again. But when it comes down to it, if you're truly hungry, my barometer for hunger has now become an apple. If I say in my head, I'm hungry, I was like, well, would you eat an apple? And the answer is no. Well, then you're not actually hungry. You're just bored. If you're truly hungry, you'll eat what's in front of you to eat. It's going to get bored and you're going to get tired of it. And I'm going to not want to eat trail mix after that for the next few weeks. But
that's honestly a lot of diet too, is if you can stop that.
Yeah.
But
because then you find yourself like, oh, you were going for the chips because you just were bored and wanted to eat something. But if you wouldn't eat good food like an apple or a piece of fruit or a thing of celery, then you're not actually hungry. It's
true.
So that was my plan, is to not have to start a fire. The only thing that ends up changing on this list for me is that hammocks, especially once you get below 60 degrees, it gets real cold. And I mean, you could do it, but I don't know if I would sleep comfortably under 60 degrees. You have to get some sort of under quilt system or something. But Yeah, I fought against the pack the last time we talked about this too, but I just kind of realized like I need to be able to move. And I like your belt idea because, yeah, everything you listed has like girth hitch or just, I mean, those MRE bags, I bet those would be tough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, you can poke a hole in an MRE bag, and I mean, when you open the top of the MRE bag, sometimes they kind of split and they give you that little piece hanging off. And I guarantee you could even hang that on your belt and it wouldn't break.
They're heavy
and it
duty.
Wouldn't fall off. So,
I like it.
Yeah.
Now we just have to schedule time to do this.
I'd really like to do it, man.
Let's do it.
We need to do it.
I'm pumped.
I like the idea. It's just gonna.
It's so tough.
My biggest challenge with this is gonna be sleeping.
Yeah.
I mean, really, I won't want to sleep.
Right.
You know.
And
I'm gonna be on high alert. I won't want to sleep. You know what I mean?
Yep. And you could do it, not sleep for the 2 days, but
I've done it before.
maybe toward the end of the second day you'll take a nap or something.
Yeah. Be like whatever you call it. Who's the guy in Stand By Me?
Oh, I have no
I
idea.
don't want to say Chunk, but that's Goonies. Guy that brings the comb.
I don't think I've seen it.
Vern in Stand By Me.
Vern?
No?
No.
You haven't seen Stand By Me?
no.
Oh, Jesus. Anyway, he's up at watch at night, and they're passing around this 45 that they have from somebody's old man.
Ah,
and
got
they're
it.
taking turns on watch at night. And
Yeah.
he's like, you hear the owl going, whoop, and he's like,
Oh, so he's just super alert,
he's
just
super
tuned
alert,
on
yeah.
all
Like,
the time.
that's what I think about all the time when I think about being there at night by myself. I'm like, what was that?
It is.
Yeah.
Especially by yourself. It
Yeah.
gets scary.
Armadillos are the worst
Yeah.
because you hear them rustling. You're like, what the?
What was that?
What was that?
What was that?
Yeah. I hope he doesn't come by my tent. Anyway. All right. Yeah, I like it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. So what we'd like to do is hear your 5-item 48-hour challenge again, because we've asked you before, and we'd love some feedback again. So if you use, I don't know, what's a good pound tag to use so that we can check them out on social media, people's
We
answers?
just do the 5-item 48-hour challenge. Just use numbers.
That's a long hashtag.
I know. I'm trying to think of what the best.
I like numbers. Number 5, item, 48-hour.
Yeah.
How about just
How about 5-item challenge? I
Yeah.
bet that's not something that's in use.
5-item challenge.
Yeah.
Number 5.
Yeah.
Item challenge.
Put
So
that, and we'll take a
use
look.
that pound tag, and we will look at your answers for that, and we'll review them on the next podcast too,
Yep.
the next Gear Tasting Radio. Anyhow, also, if you have a question for us, we are getting back to question episodes now. Use pound tag Gear Tasting on any social media network, and we will find them and get them answered for you. And as always, check out our show notes or episode intel, and we've got some details for our crew leader membership. It is our way of giving you back something in return for your membership dollars and support. Even if you don't want to support us that way, heading over to Apple Podcasts and giving us a review, subscribing, those things will all very much help the podcast get shown to new eyes. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.